Hello there, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Listening to the Voices in Our Heads, where creative minds get together and talk about creative processes in a world not necessarily built for them. My name is Jenna O'Malley. I'm so glad to be here with everybody. We have, I have to say, a first. It's taken 5 seasons for us to have a first. In our chats, I would like for you to go ahead and definitely show some love for a couple of people here around the authortube world, Rachel and James. Let's jam. Welcome on back from the intro, everybody. Hi, you two. How are you doing?
Doing good.
Good. So good to have you both here. I didn't realize until like 10 minutes before I logged in to do the tech checks that this is our first husband and wife duo. So yay for firsts. And were you our first co-author as well, Rachel? Because I know I've also had the sisters on here before, and I couldn't remember who came first.
I don't remember. I know that it was the first, like, I know that we're not related, me and Tina, so that might be it.
You might as well be sisters.
We might as well be sisters.
Notice who said that.
Yeah, that'd be
not
me.
Rachel. So let's go ahead and introduce yourselves. Many of you know Rachel. Most of you probably know James. Introduce yourselves.
I'm Rachel Adams, and Rachel D. Adams when it comes to publishing. I am a urban fantasy, paranormal romance author who co-authors 2 of her series with other people. I also dabble in authortube, and I blog both on Medium and on Substack. And I help this guy out.
Yeah, me. So, yeah, my name is James Adams. I am the technical mind behind WTC Creatives. Yes, technical being in parentheses and hyphens, all that good stuff. So I do web design. So I developed Rachel's website and decided to expand it out a little bit, and have developed other websites for authors here in the industry for indie publishing. And I've also decided to strike out at the behest of Rachel to write books. So I'm writing in the isekai harem genre.
Speaking of book updates, so it's been a bit since Rachel's been here, and I know there's some really good things going on with books. How's the co-authoring been? And then, of course, James, what are we looking for with that world?
The co-authoring has gotten even better. My co-author, Dawn, has a bit more time on her hands. And my other co-author, Thina, has actually gotten into my kind of writing. We were doing contemporary stuff just for Vela for a while. Well, we've decided to shift it to paranormal. So it really grabs my interest a bit more, and I can't wait to share that too. We have actually decided to go back and revise, re-edit books 1 and 2, because even though you do have an editor and stuff like that to begin with, you miss things. And I also have Atticus now and some other tools. So I was like, I'm just going to take it through this and see what happens. Then we, as you know, we've got the beta read for book 3 is done now. So everybody has that, and we're hoping to get it released in October.
Yeah. So as far as the book that I'm working on, the premise of the book is that a science teacher by the name of Kieran Darkholm, he ends up getting summoned to a parallel world with his 4 students, and some sort of a mishap happens as a part of his summoning, and he gets separated from them. And so his students become the heroes of the kingdom, and he gets basically shoved off into an area where he has to essentially survive in order to try and get back to his students and find a way home.
You can see why former public ed English teacher is going, I know who would be on my team depending on the situation. You two write and create such amazing things. So how did planning a season of things with the co-author go for in-person events? And for you, James, I imagine, did travel for you become involved, / did you do any yourself?
We only were able to make it to one event because we live so far apart, and she has, at least until recently, had a full-time, actually overtime amount of job duties as a nurse. So we got to go to a Renaissance fair together, and we actually sold out of almost everything. We had to go into our back stuff to give people books that were discounted because they were messed up. So it was like wonderful. I did go to another event, and it was successful. It paid for itself. But I'm beginning to see what to do and what not to do when it comes to events. And that's really important for next year because I hope to be part of more events next year. We also figured out how to handle the fact that we live so far apart and we want to sign our books. We decided to design plates for our books so that we can sign the plates and ship those back and forth and make sure that they're stuck inside the book so that whoever purchases or whoever's selling the books, they do have a signed book to give someone. So I thought that was a kind of a good idea. I'm glad that this one came up with it. He's the one that actually suggested it.
That sounds like a really good use. Is it like Avery stickers you're putting those on, I imagine, or something similar where it's you can give them individuals and they just peel and stick wherever they wish?
They can do it that way, or we can actually put them in there for them and sell the book to them.
Yeah, it was one of those things that when I was doing all the wonderful research that I've been doing in relation to getting ready for doing my book, that was one of the things that was brought up because with the book plates, they can sign them and they can sell the book plates separately, charge $1, and then they can get a signed copy. If they've got the physical copy of the book, they order it off Amazon, they pay $1, they get the signed plate, they can stick it inside the book, and they've got a signed copy now.
And it covers their print cost for at least that.
Yeah, instead of sending an entire book internationally, you would just send a book plate to them. Yep.
I think a bunch of us are now using that idea. Thank you. James, for you, what other things are you all learning? Just like in general, what's working for you? What isn't working for both of you?
I'm learning a lot. Just trying to wrap my mind around things because I've been on the technical side of stuff related to building the website and things like that. I've not really been too deep into the marketing and the promotion side and things like that. So, Rachel's done a lot of that and she's learned a lot on her own. And so I'm having to lean on her for the marketing and stuff and trying to learn that. And then also trying to do some things on my own as well, because I don't want to have complete total reliance on her for this because she's got a lot on her plate with the books that she's trying to do and doing her own promotion. And so I'm trying to do what I can on my side, and I'm learning a lot. It's overwhelming. I have a very deep respect for indie authors who decide that they want to just throw on all the hats and do everything themselves, because it is a lot to learn, a lot to do, and it's humbling. Makes me very proud of Rachel and everything that she's done so far.
Rachel does so much, and you're on so many different platforms, balancing them, it seems like, is why I say that, because you're not just on YouTube, you're on, you do Twitch, gaming,
Yeah. I haven't been doing as much gaming as I'd like to do because I don't have I used to have a moderator. I used to have somebody that could support me as a moderator on Twitch, but I don't anymore. And I've seen so many bad things going on that I'm kind of like, let me wait until I have somebody available. So I'm not sure if I'm going to continue on Twitch or not, but yeah, I do try to keep myself on as many platforms as I can, both with that and with social media and blogging.
Yeah, I was going to say you're like a blogging fiend. You're one of the people where I'm just like, is it literally hours of your week must go into your research, and it's quite admirable, quite so accurate. So what's one project you have launched in your services and over the last year or so, and how has that process in a writerly way gone for both of you? And I think we all know kind of what we might hint at for one of you.
Well, for him, I know it's going to be the websites, and I'm supporting him with the websites and trying to. I've been trying to help him understand what is needed when it comes to authors and the hangups that we have when it comes to people who approach us for design work and things like that. But also for me, I started opening the door for blurbs and critiques, things like that. I also even did an advertising section. I just wanted to see what people liked or what they went for more and what they needed more. It seems to me that blurbs are the thing that people get hung up on most. I think my biggest thing with blurbs is that people are overthinking how to do a blurb, because here they've got this huge 60 to 120,000 word book that is part of their soul, you know, and they can't imagine putting it into 300 words or less. So I've got that. I've got that down. So I've offered that as a service. And so far I've gotten several clients, most of word of mouth, and from Substack and also from AuthorTube.
Yep. And as far as for me, yeah, the website stuff is the primary focus that I've got going on. I was able to get a few clients, and I do have some more that are in the pipeline. For me, the big thing is designing Rachel's website. Her website is kind of like the
guinea pig.
The guinea pig, the platform in which I test out all kinds of new things that are used within the various programming languages like CSS and JavaScript and some of the page builders. So hers is the one that I do all my experimentation on to kind of get and nail down what works and what doesn't. And then I incorporate that with others' websites. And then also kind of working with her in coordination to understand more about the indie author side, because for me, up until this point, my web design has been focused around businesses, which I go and I can stand before business and say, oh yeah, I can do that website. It'll be about $3,000. And they'll go, okay, here's the check. And they get it done. But when we start talking about indie authors, they've got so many other things that are dividing their monetary attention that it becomes more of a difficult call for them to stroke that kind of a check out. And so that was one of the reasons why I decided to shift the model that I use for doing the web design from here's the cost, you pay 50% now, 50% when it's done, to more of a managed web hosting type of model, in which I take the total cost of the website and I divide it between either 12, 18, or 24 months so that they have equal payments that are a lot less. And I get their website done. I host it. I take care of it. I provide the security, the maintenance, and then I provide them an hour per month of design time that they can get with me on making updates or changes to the website that they need. And as long as they keep on paying, I'll keep hosting their website. And once the last payment is paid, they get the option of either continuing on a hosting plan and lessening the monthly payment, or they can stay at the same level and then double that. So if they did 12 months, at 24 months, I would completely redesign the website. So they have that option.
Wow.
Yeah, so they have that option that they can do. And the thing is that with what I'm doing here, and because I'm handling the hosting and everything for them, that's one hat that they can take off and set to the side. And then they don't have to worry about the maintenance, the upkeep, the security, the backup.
Yeah, the only thing that I have to worry about is telling him, oh, this is an updated promo that I want to put on there.
Yep.
I think this past month, this past month it was updating everybody's stuff on the author resource page, because I was able to get ads for everybody, the little square ads, and put there, because I don't want just me. I want everybody that has helped me be on there. And then we decided, or I decided, but I got with him about it. I used to put my little promos on the first page, and I decided it's just too crowded. I didn't like it. So he took them off for me, whereas he was updating them every month, and he's willing to do that. That 1 hour that people get, that helps out, because some people want to do that. Some people don't want to do that. So yeah.
So I'm going to definitely say for both of their services, we kind of covered the next question. So in lieu of that, I'm going to say check the description box for the links and reach out to them as soon as you can if you have any further questions, because those were detailed answers. So we're going to skip one question there and go to when it comes to self-building a website, because some of us do that. Where should someone start if you're doing it yourself from the ground up?
So if you are deciding that you want to do the DIY path, I would say that there are two places that you need to start your journey. The first would be other author websites. The reason why you would want to do that is because you want to kind of see what they're doing design-wise, what they're putting on their website, how they're focusing their website. And it gives you kind of a hit list of things that you like what they do and things that you don't like. And so you can kind of amass a hit list of different author websites that you can provide to a designer, or you can use on your own as a means to create sort of that template, because there's a specific way that, like, the home page is typically set up, which is navigation at the top, hero banner, and then call to action. And then below that would be additional sections that expand upon either the author or the books or something, or services in that case. Then the second step, once you've got that kind of a hit list and you have an idea in your mind with how you want the template to be, then go to YouTube and start looking up tutorials on how to build a WordPress website, how to build a Wix website, how to build a Squarespace website. Take a look at that and really take the time to understand not just like what it takes to build it, but what they're saying about long-term maintenance, what you're going to have to do after the fact to keep it up, because it's not a one and done kind of thing that you just, oh, okay, it's built, great, I'm going to slow it, I'm going to throw it off to the side and I'm going to leave it be. You've got to make sure that, like, plugins are updated all the time. You got to make sure that you've got security software on there to prevent people from being able to hack in. You need to have backup software on there in order to keep your backups off-site. Don't rely on the host to do the backups. They'll do backups, but you need to have a separate backup system to where if the host is the one that gets hacked and they destroy your website, they're going to kill the backups too. So you've got to have a separate backup system to where you can recover your website if something like that happens. So that's where I would start. And then you can kind of see whether or not, by going through those tutorials, whether or not the ask that you're trying to give yourself and doing it by yourself is feasible, considering time constraints and all of the other things that you've got on your plate, especially if you're actively working on your book, or you're actively providing services for other people, such as coaching or blurbs, things like that Jenna and Rach both do. There's a lot of things that become time sinks for you. And then, of course, your mental break time is also important. And so you need to assess that and see, okay, well, is me saving that money worth me losing the time that it takes in order to do it, and the time that it will take on a monthly basis going forward in order to maintain it?
And also something that I didn't realize starting out, when you look at other author websites, remember that you don't have to have all the bells and whistles up front. Sometimes it's a matter of, I just need a landing page. I can tell you from experience, I started my journey in websites and social media presence and everything in 2016 for this endeavor. And I made the mistake of buying one of those dummy books, and I threw that in the garbage really quick. So, yeah. But all I really wanted was somewhere I could do a blog and somewhere that was a landing page so people could join my website or be part of it. And this was before I even knew about doing newsletters and stuff. I wanted them to be able to join my website. That was the big thing then. And so that's what I did. And I did it. He helped out a little bit, but not much. I was able to do most of it. And because he was traveling all the time, he was consulting. As a matter of fact, part of my design time was in a hotel at Worcester, Massachusetts, visiting him while he was there working for another company. So yeah, it sometimes you don't need all the bells and whistles. So take stock of what you really, really need. If you're not doing direct sales, you don't need all those bells and whistles for that. If you're not doing, blog, you don't need a blog. You don't need the page that has the blog. So yeah.
Yep. And yeah, she got rid of her dummy book, and then she turned to this dummy here and said, "Hey, design it." And I was like, "Okay, fine."
So definitely, when it comes to this, slow and steady wins the race, and you're okay to build. And the key word here would also, you're also allowed to take away booking itself from the website and dissect it out however you wish as well. To kind of pivot slightly and kind of throw a unplanned question on Rachel, where would you start with blurbs then?
Where would I start with blurbs? With
writing blurbs, what would be the first thing you would do?
Know exactly what your inciting incident is. Know your basics. You need to map out your basics, and you would be so surprised how many people just completely they're not seeing the trees for the forest. Who's your antagonist? Who's your protagonist? Are there more than one protagonist? What are their connections? What is the inciting incident? And one of the most important things is, what are the stakes? What could possibly go wrong? What's the worst thing that could possibly happen if they don't make it, if they fail? Once you have those written out, you can then go back, and I have a template that I use that I just go back and I'm like, okay, so here's the protagonist. If there's two, or if there's more than one person that's very important to that particular book, because I write a series, so each book's going to have a little bit different instead of the same protagonist. So it'll be like the most recent one, I actually use the antagonist as the person that I mentioned, and then the next most important person to that particular book, then how they're connected to our series protagonists, the inciting incident, and what could possibly happen and what could go wrong. And that is how I formed the blurb. And then once you have the blurb, then take time, take a break, come up with your tagline. The tagline could be a lot of different things. Some people, it's actually an ad, a series ad, telling people with keywords what it is. For some people, it's a quote. It can be a quote from the book. For some people, it's actually the most important thing that is going on in this particular book. And the main thing is, will it hook your audience? Because to me, the first thing that's most important is your cover art, because that's what people are going to see, and they're going to be like, oh, yes. The next most important thing is your tagline, then your blurb, because that's going to tell the audience, once they're like, oh, I like that picture, let me flip the book, or let me look at the description. That's going to tell them if it contains everything that they like.
Kind of like how a movie theater ad does the same thing in a glimpse. Very, very.
Oh, absolutely. And that has changed over the years. But when you think about a blurb, think about the guy from the 90s and the early 2000s that used to come on while they were showing pictures of what was going on in the movie.
You're in a world.
The movie guy.
Yes, the everybody wanted to be Morgan Freeman, overexcited announcer voice from the 90s. Mm-hmm. Yes. Oh my gosh.
Yeah, so I used to do that when we were streaming on Twitch, because we had dynamic mics, and if you get really close to a dynamic mic, you can really lower your voice. And so you get that mic, you pull it up, it's like, in a world of happiness and good times. And so I would do things like that. And And so everybody was like, oh, look at that. He's trying to be a movie announcer. And I'm like, yeah, that's me, movie announcer guy.
You got to make your own entertainment sometimes when you stream and do this. I kid you not. I kid you not. When it comes to designing author websites, what are the key elements, widgets, and similar that you think all of them probably should have? And that would be a fair question for both of you to answer, I think.
Mm-hmm. It would. So as far as the website, when you start talking about the elements, the first thing you need to be able to understand and answer for yourself is, what is the focus of your website? Because for an author, especially an author that does side gigs, there's 3 focuses. So focus number 1 is on your books. Focus number 2 is on you as an author and a brand. And then focus number 3 is your services. So you try to figure out what is the focus of the website, because when you figure out what you're wanting to focus on, that's where the primary amount of your copy and the setup in your website is going to be designed to point to.
And what he means by copy is the text people have available, just to clarify for the audience.
Yeah, all the little about me sections and things like that, and all of the verbiage that you see on websites, the website copy. And so that copy will change depending upon what the focus is that you have on the website. And so you want to make sure that your hero banner on the home page is designed to focus in on that. So if it's about your books are front and center. If it's about you, it's got your face there. If it's about your services are basically shown and displayed, so that when somebody comes to your website, the first thing they see is what the primary focus is of your website. So you want to make sure that you have that. You want to make sure that you have a clean navigation on your website from top to bottom, and that throughout your website that you have clear and definable calls to action on what you want them to do. So it could be something as simple as sign up to my newsletter. It could be book a call. It could be any number of different things, but it would be a call to action, and it needs to be prominent throughout the website in enough places that from a navigation perspective that you're making it easy on the users, so that at any point in time during their journey through your website, they don't have to go far, or they don't have to scroll all the way back up to the top in order to click on that call to action. The other thing to keep in mind that you want to do is that you want to ensure that from a user experience, that you figure out where you want your reader or your user to end up. So if your focus is that you want them to be on the website and you want them to learn everything they can about you and your books on your website, then the focus needs to be on that, and navigation to other places like YouTube and Instagram and things like that need to be displayed at the bottom of the website in the footer, because we're primarily English audience. And when we read from top to bottom, left to right. And so if you're sitting at your navigation bar at the top and you've got all your links to your different pages, and then on the right-hand side of that navigation bar, you've got links to YouTube and all of that, what's going to end up happening 9 times out of 10 is they're going to go over and go, oh man, that person's got an Instagram page. Let me click on that. And then they're gone. They're no longer on your website. And from a search engine perspective, Google tracks not only people doing a search, so like Jenna O'Malley, and then they go to your website through Google. Well, Google knows that they searched you out and went to your website through Google. Well, they also know how long that they stay on your page before they bounce. Well, the shorter amount of time that they're on your page, the less you're going to start ranking in Google. So make sure that you understand basically where you want that journey to go for your end user. If you want them to go to YouTube and stuff, then by all means, put them up at the top, put a nice little video window in the banner, all that stuff. Do everything you can to send them over to YouTube. But if that is not the goal that you're trying to achieve with your website, then make sure that if you have any kind of social media, that they are put at the bottom in the footer, because they'll still find your social media, but they will have to go through the entirety of your homepage or the entirety of your subsequent pages to the bottom in order to see that. So that keeps them on the page longer, and they actually get a chance to learn about you a lot more with the information that's there.
That's some really good advice. So it kind of relates to knowing where you as an author, I don't like using the word funnel, we'll say map, intend to include the website as part of your like marketing landscape a little bit. And that's a very good way to word it. What is its purpose? Oh, anything else to add? Or
with mine, it's the purpose because I only have the one series or the two series and they're connected. I wanted my website right now to focus on my books. So if you go to my website, that's what you're going to see first. That's where everything pretty much leads to. My stuff is secondary. My author stuff, the stuff about me, where I'm going to be, things like that, that's secondary. There are authors that they are focused on their brand. They're focused on them. So they are the star of their first page, and they need to make sure that that's what they're, and in the future, I do plan on doing that. But right now I want everybody focused on our series and our books. Another thing that I would suggest when it comes to how you set your website up and everything, don't be artsy fartsy. That phrase I learned a long time ago, and I use it for these kind of websites wherein it's very pretty. It is, don't get me wrong, it is very pretty, but I have no idea where to click for what.
Anything is big like that, the hacking goes like 1,000-fold. And so you've got to be really, really careful because your website could get hijacked. And next thing you know, you got all kinds of weird stuff all over it. At the very least, at the very worst, it could have all kinds of malware on it and less, not safe for work content. So again, it's not a set it and forget it kind of thing. It's kind of like a pet or a baby. It's got to be taken care of on a continuous basis.
Very, very true. So what kind of storytelling goes into, well, the story of building the website? You kind of mentioned it a little bit already. So like, what is the technical aspects? Like, are you spending more time just putting the copy in first? Are you figuring out, where do you kind of start in that aspect?
So for me, I work basically from essentially storyboard. I'm more visual than I am anything else. And so when I work with a client, the first thing that I do is I provide them with homework. And the homework is give me examples of author websites that you love and tell me what you don't love about them. Give me all of your copy that you want on the website. Give me images that you need, things like that. Because when you're working with the designer, while I could go in and do all kinds of stuff myself, I find that what I do, if I am not working hand in hand and being collaborative with the person I'm developing the website for, 9 times out of 10, there's a lot of change that has to occur, especially around when you start talking about the images and when you start talking about the different copy, because authors are storytellers and they want to tell their story and they want to tell it their way. And so I'm just there to take their story and put their story down on a website. And so I will defer to them and give them the homework to provide me with that information. And, I always give them the caveat of, hey, the longer it takes for you to get me that information, the longer it's going to take for me to get that website up. And so I kind of set deadlines with them and say, you need to provide this to me within a week or 2 weeks. And then we kind of work in a collaborative manner back and forth on doing that.
And Rachel, anything to add to that end?
Not really. The only thing that I've done when it comes to this side of things is if he's provided with certain types of copy and he needs to know where I think that should fit better. And he gives my opinion on where it should fit better. And I also will go over it just to be sure that there aren't any errors and stuff, because typos happen and you don't want a typo to happen on your website. So there's that.
Definitely so. Definitely so.
Yeah, and also she offers copy services as a part of it. So if an author is coming back and like, I really don't know what to say
if
there,
come up with something, then I'm like, okay, well, what do you want to say? What do you want people to know? And then I try to come up with it.
Tag team in effect.
Definitely tag team that. That's exactly what my sentiment was too. Newsletters and blogs, how different are they on a technical end versus what the reader and user see for content? I'm especially pulling this question because there's places like Medium and Substack that kind of constitute, it's at least a landing page.
So technical wise, there is a larger learning curve with newsletters because you've got to get the newsletter set up. You've got to set up the funnels. You've got to create the groups and the tags that funnel the different readers or the different people that sign up into the different groups so that they get those newsletters. So out of the gate, there's a lot larger of a technical ask and a larger learning curve, whereas blogs are more reactive. They're not proactive. So a newsletter is proactive. You're sending it out to your readers and you're giving them information. A blog is reactive in terms of they won't see any of this information until they come to your website. Technical wise, most of the platforms that are out there, Wix, Squarespace, WordPress, Duda, even Shopify, it actually has a blogging sub-platform to it to allow for blog articles. And so blog articles allow for authors to storytell, whether that be reviewing other authors' books or providing stories like Rachel was doing when she first started doing the website. She was doing her reader magnet stories on her website as blog articles. So they're really good for SEO because those blog articles appear in search engines. And so they can draw in that organic traffic and get people coming to your website that you may not have thought would come to there. So it's good to have both. Technical wise, it's going to be a greater ask on the newsletter side. Blogs are easier to do. They're just it's kind of like pulling up Word. You just type your stuff in and then hit post and it publishes it and you're done. But newsletters, there's a lot more to it.
And then Rachel, because you use Medium, that's kind of why I posed that question the way I did. I don't. How different would you feel it is from, say, the user end then?
Well, I don't know if I would use Medium as a really good comparison. Medium is more or less a platform for articles or, well, you can use it for fiction, but it's not really as much a newsletter or a blog that's going to go to your audience. As much as people have to actually subscribe and everything, it's very limited compared to the other stuff. I would probably use Substack as a more recent and also updated version of what you're trying to compare it to. The differences, see, Substack wasn't around when I started this. So I chose MailerLite. I'm still using MailerLite, and you have to set everything up in both of them. The difference is that in Substack, if I think possibly if I had started and Substack was already here, I might have chosen Substack because Substack does provide more where Google is concerned, recognition now. It's got it's also got the integration for a social platform within it, whereas your newsletter is strictly your newsletter. It goes out strictly to the people who have subscribed, and that's it. Whereas Substack, automatically you can add a note to let other people who aren't subscribed know, hey, I just released this. So there's that. I use my Substack, honestly, as a funnel to Medium too. So there's that, because
Nice.
Unless you monetize Substack through subscriptions that are actually paid, you don't get a lot from it. But the email address, your payment is their email, is their subscription. Through Medium, you actually do get a little percentage and a little kickback on how many people read your stuff, whether they are subscribed to you or not. So.
And I would think that as far as monetization is concerned, even if you go through the process and you monetize through Substack, I would also, if you have Medium and you're monetized on Medium, I would link them through anyways, because it's two revenue streams.
Yes.
And so, you know, the big thing everybody always talks about is the more revenue streams that you have, the better off you're going to be financially, because at any point in time,
One of my
Substack could shut
publishers,
down.
one of my publishers actually decided to do an experiment with the two, and he's been releasing them because you can release. It's okay to release on both of them. Same article or article that's very, very similar, and as long as you put the canonical link into the background of Medium, it's okay. And so that's what he's been doing, and he's actually this month surpassed readership and money on Substack. He's actually gotten better on Substack than Medium, which is, you know, up until now, he's always made more money on Medium. So it's doable.
It's doable. It just like everything else, it takes a time.
It takes time.
Training the algorithm to connect the dots. That's all it is. So what technical troubleshooting skills should all business owners consider acquiring?
So technical wise, how to update and maintain your website is very important for them technical wise. As far as tools are concerned, anti-spam tools are extremely important. Security tools, backup tools are also essential for ensuring that your website remains safe. And then just kind of following safe practices when it comes to your website, turning off the ability for people to register to your website, making sure that you have very strong passwords, and then just basically doing whatever extra steps you can to ensure that nobody can easily figure out what's going on as far as your website and being able to get in behind, because as soon as they can, that becomes a problem. I'd also be kind of hesitant about comments, especially on blog articles, turning on the comments section on your blog articles. While for certain blogs, those are good, like for recipe blogs, the community interaction is usually good for the algorithm for like Google and the other search engines. For standard, the problem is that you're going to find that you're going to have more of a administrative nightmare on your hands as you're trying to approve and disapprove of spam comments that come in because of the bots that basically slam websites. And it's not just a single comment here. When it hits, you end up with like 50 comments of the same exact thing from different email addresses because it's all bot related. And so if you have your comments on and you're not administering them or moderating them, expect to have your comment section filled up with all kinds of spam for, you know, busty adults and services for this, that, and the other, and OnlyFans alternatives, all that stuff.
Wild.
Yeah. So it's crazy. Like with Rachel's website, what I did was her contact page, I actually connected her contact page with Discord. And so it came into a channel in Discord. And so it was one of those where she would like read what was coming in. She's like, well, this is entertaining and this is entertaining. None of it would get posted because it all flowed through.
Over the course of 6 months, I've had one legitimate message.
Yes.
That's it. One legitimate message. So I would suggest something like that, because that way it would kind of filtered it. I could see it and then I could be delete, 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 or I would leave it and it'd be like, look, you got to go look at that because that's funny.
Yeah.
So there's that.
So when it comes to making your promo banners each month, that for Rachel that you share on your YouTube channel, how does that process change over time, if at all? I assume you're making it in like Canva or something similar.
Yeah. One thing though, I wanted to kind of go back on where the question was concerned. Just check your website. If you have a website, be present for it. Check it. Make it part of your schedule to at least check it once a week, to make sure that all of the links work and that none of the pictures have gone screwy. Mine's even with him administering to my website, sometimes my pictures will blow up and I'm like, whoa, wait a minute, yo, check that out. And he'll immediately go in there and yep, there was an update and let me fix it really quick. And So yeah, especially if you're the only one that's administering to your website, please make it part of your schedule to check it, because there's nothing worse than telling people, oh, go to my website to sign up for such and such, and then it not work. So you're going to lose that person.
And a good thing is to also check it on multiple screen ratios and resolutions too. That's where I normally am like, this screen, my phone, my tablet.
Check it on mobile, check it on a tablet. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah, like I think it's nearly 90% of web browsing today is done on phones.
That's actually really good to know.
So
that's much higher than
it used to not be, but I think it's 87% of browsing that's happening on the internet is on phones. So having your website mobile optimized is more and more
necessary.
Yeah, it's no longer you should have it, is like you need it, because if it looks horrible on mobile, they're not going to stay.
Nobody wants to do this the whole time.
Yeah.
No, so please be sure of that.
And just because it looks good on your screen doesn't mean it's going to look good on everybody's screen. And just that's something I definitely have learned over the years, that I could check it here and go check it on someone else's screen and still have to go make an adjustment because it's not quite right.
It changes from screen to screen. It also changes from browser to browser, because you've got the Microsoft Edge, and you've got Chrome and DuckDuckGo, and you've got all of these different browsers that are out there now. And so things display differently on each one of them. Some of them may not even have the ability to handle the image formats that you have, because the WebP is one of the new image formats that a lot of browsers accept for having the images small file size, because that's a big thing that slows your website down is images. And so WebP is like the new kid on the block. And so there are some browsers that don't actually accept WebP and display it natively. So your website has to have both images on there. So then the amount of disk space that your website takes up increases, because you're having to have two different image formats on there. Otherwise, you end up with a broken image logo where the images should be on your website, and it looks really, really bad. So it changes, and the phones all change too, because phones are all different sizes. The size of my phone is smaller than Rachel's phone is, and it displays differently.
It's very old. He's got a dinosaur.
Yeah.
It works. That's what matters, right?
Basically is what it is. It hasn't broken, and so I'm leaving it be, even though it's like out of date and everything else. I'm gonna run it until the wheels fall off, and then I'll get a new one.
That's what I tell people about this. This is an older Note. It's 3-4 generations old. They're not going to be supporting it much longer. Best vlogging camera I've ever owned, right there on the back. You can't get better than this for a vlogging camera these days. And it's still an older phone.
I think I've got the Galaxy 7, Galaxy 8. It's not even supported anymore. They don't even do updates on it. It's so old, because they're at the 23 now, 24. It just keeps going up. So
they jumped a bunch of numbers in between too, I think, to be fair. So what are some key questions an author should ask when partnering with someone who builds their websites for them?
So some of the best questions to ask is, what services they provide, what their cost is. Ask for examples of websites that they've designed, especially when you're talking about author websites, because an author website and the design of an author website is going to be very, very different than a heating and cooling website. And so while it's not as difficult to make the transition across, there may be some elements that get left off or get forgotten in terms of the design process from the design website company. So you just want to make sure that they have at least some experience with working with authors. Other things that you want to make sure is that what tools and services do they incorporate with the website design? What tools do they use in designing the website? What autonomy are you going to have as an author to administrate your website? Because as an author, you may want to do a blog article. Well, okay, if you want to do a blog article, is it a situation where I type up my blog article and I have to email it to the guy to do it? Or can I do it myself? Same thing with making updates, basic updates and stuff on the website. Hey, I've got a new book that's coming out. I want to be able to add it into my website. How easy is it for me to do that? And so those are little key aspects that you want to try and find out and make sure that that they answer for you, and especially like after the fact. It's like what happens after when I'm done and you delivered the website. What can I expect from you? What can I reach out to you for? Do you just design the website and then throw it over at me as a finished template, and then it's on me from that point forward? And if I want,
will they teach you? Will they teach you?
Yes. If I want maintenance, will you do the maintenance, or do I have to go through a completely separate company in order to do the maintenance? Because there are some out there that their whole purpose is we design websites that are templates. We charge you a very low cost. You get your website. When you're done, thanks, have a great day. You need hosting, you need maintenance, find it somewhere else. We don't do that. And so you just want to make sure that you ask those questions just to make certain that who you're working with is not only available to take care of you as a part of the process, but also after the process, if that's what you're looking for. If you're looking for them just to hand you the keys and tell you good luck, then that's fine. Everybody's different, and everybody has different technical aspects to themselves. So I would say just grade what they do and what they offer on a curve based upon what you know and feel comfortable with picking up on your side and doing yourself.
Nice. And any other things to add in, or any other clarifying questions before we get into doing some shout outs and some outros? I think our last two questions we kind of roped into the previous few we answered a little bit, and that's okay.
Yeah, well, it's fine. Nope, I don't have anything else.
Just be sure that you can talk to the person who's designing your website, and that they're not over talking you.
Yeah.
That's a big deal, because what you want is what's important, and not them going off and doing their own thing. So, and I kind of think he touched on that, but I just wanted to make sure that, you understand that you're the owner of the website. So the designer is the designer of the website, but you own it. So you kind of need to make sure that they are listening to you and what you want, and not using templates and stuff that if you're paying somebody to do a design, make sure that they're not, just throwing something up there that is easy and that you could have done yourself.
Yeah. And I think the other thing is, for me, what's important to me and what I do is having a collaborative relationship with the designer, or for me, it would be with the client, because there are companies out there that don't do that. They're like, hey, just give me what you need. I'm going to develop it, and then I'm going to give you the finished product. And if you need changes after I've delivered it to you, I'll make those changes.
But it'll cost you, probably.
But for me, I prefer that collaborative way, to where we kind of go back and forth just to make sure. And like for me, when I'm developing the website, when I get the shell put up, I provide them with the link to the website, so they can go in and actually take a look, and then they kind of give it a cursory review, and they either sign off or tell me, things that they want to have altered or changed. And then I make that, and it kind of becomes a back and forth process, so that we can make sure that at the end of it, the goal that all designers should have is at the end of it, that the person getting the website is completely happy and satisfied with what they've been given. And, just making sure that they're taken care of. Customer service, all that good stuff.
Love it. Love it. So where can we find both of you around all the places? And hint, description box below probably has the key for that, everybody.
For me, RachelDAdams.com is my website, and it has links to everywhere. And also, you can take a look around and see what kind of magic we can pull off at WTC Creatives when it comes to the web design. You don't have to go all out like I did. Like he said, I'm the guinea pig, but at least you'll see what kind of magic can be done. Also, I have a blog that I'm promoting on Substack called Aggressively Helpful Writing Advice. And I have fallen in love with it. It was an experiment that has gone haywire. And now I try to put something up every week, if not every other week, for everybody.
Yep. And as far as me, you can find me at WTCcreatives.com. And on there, if you are interested, you can reach out through the contact form and I will get back to you. Or if you just want to send me an email, you can send me an email at info@WTCcreatives.com.
Awesome. And everybody, thank you so much for being here today. And above all, take care of yourself. You've always been worth it.